that, and this is again why consumer brands are so successful at this, because they have no other choice. But the really important thing, and this is something I spend a lot of time with architects talking about, is that your value is your output. It is not your internal process. I think that that's really important, but I think that architects get really tripped up in talking about culture as the core output, or the kind of listening to your clients as your core output. Those are things everybody can do. And so the really important thing is your output, meaning your design work, is different. Inherently, it's different. Everybody is designing differently. Everybody has a different way of getting there. And nobody, or the firms that don't do this, are the ones who are kind of fading into the background. And we can all picture firms that have non-memorable brands. But it's really important to pull this out, and I think there are a few architects who are doing it really well. So this is sort of like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs of PR. In terms of the key things, and I realize I'm going to get closed captioned over this, but as a starting point, to give you a sense of the flow of this presentation, the really important thing is defining your brand, your purpose, your ethos, the design drivers of that, defining a visual brand as the next piece, what your logo looks like, what your sort of brand system looks like. Often this is done in-house for designers, which is great. Defining your core messages and positioning your practice. I would argue this is the most important part, and I'll spend a lot of time talking about this. Your comm strategy and your infrastructure. This is generally where I come in, help guiding brands into whether or not they need to be doing press trips, or they need to be doing press releases, or they need to be, taking an architecture critic to come and visit their buildings. The ones where you see this, and I'll give some examples, but where you see a building that's really succeeded in the press, that's, the Perelman Center in New York, for example, which I had nothing to do with, was on the cover of the New York Times twice in 1 week in September. And I know that the PR firm that worked on that spent 2 years building to that. And being on the cover of the New York Times in architecture of any type is incredibly rare, but to be twice in a week is like a Nobel Prize. And so the sort of final actualization is activating the brand, and you do all of these pieces in a sort of methodic way. So in the sort of way that I would suggest doing this, and this is something that you can outsource or you can do in-house, but the really key thing is to define your goals, what you want to achieve by updating your brand. You need to identify your audiences. There are several of them. You need to clarify your value proposition, your USP, and then establish your brand messaging. So your goals can be very specific or not. I've worked with lots of architects who have a really clear point of view around what their goals are. And that's, in some cases, you want to win a train station, or you want to build more multifamily, or what have you. If your brand does not portray that, you will not win that work. You need to have alignment in terms of what you want to be doing, how you're presenting yourself, what you are doing. If you want to be a generalist firm, you have to present yourself in ways that reflect that also. Getting featured in the media, recruiting new talent, expanding your visibility across the board, all of these are valuable. So in terms of your key audiences, you have current clients, potential clients. I would say these are the two most important. This is usually where people go sideways. Talent and potential hires, and then the architecture, design, and academic community. Not to say that architects are not the most important audience here. I know I am going to anger the audience if I say you're not, but when you put yourself in the shoes of, I need to win a project, an architect will never pay you for that project unless they happen to be a developer. But that you should really think about it in this sort of hierarchy. Your current clients are the people who have already agreed to pay you, they already like you. Continue to keep them happy and market to them. But potential clients are the next most valuable. So, obviously I'm repeating myself here, but thinking about this hierarchy is really important because there's a different message group for each one of these audiences. So